And let's call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. First, I'd like to start with the board norms. We always do. We're looking to maintain our focus, communicate respectfully, be present, keep the board productive and effective, and respect the agenda. And right beside our board norms, thank you, Mr. Anton, for adding the changes to the agenda. Do we have any changes, additions, deletions to the agenda?
In old business under F, the financials have not been provided for Joe and Dana because it would normally be the third week. So we will not be going through that. They'll do their normal process. And whenever we meet next, you guys will retroactively approve that.
Sounds good. Scratching F from old business. And I don't think we had any correspondence, correct? No. I didn't see anything, nothing. All right. And members of the public, as always, if there is something that's not on the agenda that you'd like to speak to, we could let you speak to it now, or if it is something that is on the agenda, we can have you speak to it at that time. All right, Joe, let me know if you see any hands, something that's not on the agenda. Appreciate it. Great. Moving on to student reports.
I don't think we have our students on tonight.
And that's okay.
Shocking.
Bob has his hand up.
Oh, student Bob.
So, well, I'm student of life, Al. We don't have Ansley, and Abby is obviously graduating this week and will be leaving the board. I do have the other two underclassmen, I believe, both on the call. So, but I know it's an item on the agenda later on. So, just want them to recognize that we'll be moving to talk about them later.
Do you?
I guess you could say we can pull that forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We might as well do that while they're here, present.
All right. Do you want me to give a little intro here?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. So every year we have a new position, a new student board member coming on who's a junior. They serve a 2-year term and they leave at the end of their senior year. So this year we are losing one and we were looking to replace one. So I put out at the board's request, put out an email to that particular class, which is the current sophomores, rising juniors, to ask if there are people interested. I got 2 responses. In consultation with the board's leadership and Bill, we put together sort of an application process, I guess, if you will, to submit an essay explaining why they would like to be involved as a student board member. And we had several members of the leadership team each weigh in on them and sort of make their pick based on the merits of the essay. They were blind. In other words, the people who were scoring them did not know who they were from. We had the names removed. In the end, we had a tie between the two young women who both would like to be involved. So Ruthie Wright, I see, is on here, and I see Bay Holmes, but I'm thinking that might be her sister, Kai Luna. Is that you, Kai Luna? Excellent. All right. So Kai Luna Holmes and Ruthie Wright are the 2 students who resulted in a tie. So I was going to ask the board, with respect, to consider appointing both of them. You don't have to worry about splitting votes because student board members don't have votes. But I think the input, particularly coming out of COVID and hearing from them, I think would be incredibly useful. And so the 2 of them would join Ansley if that's what you guys agree to do. So there'd be 3 students for next year, and then actually for the next 2 years, and we replace Ansley after next year.
I'll make a motion to approve both student board members.
I'll
We have
second.
a second. Thank you, Lindsay. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. The more the merrier.
Exactly.
Let's see, do we have everybody on video for, yes, thumbs up for all those in favor.
I gotta.
Thank you. Any opposed? All right, seeing none, the motion carries, and I'm trying to get a number on that. Did you get that, Bill? Yeah.
We have all board members, but we have all 10. We just, Leanne's not here, so that's 9.
9. Okay, we have 9. All right, motion carries.
All right.
Welcome new student board members.
Yeah, thank you guys for doing that. I don't think you'll be disappointed. These two young women are both incredibly driven, intelligent, insightful young women, and I expect to go to them often for suggestions and advice and information. So thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to Joni Bertram and the McKinney Vento process. Welcome.
So I'll just take a moment to introduce Joni Bertram is our homeless liaison for the Wyndham Central Supervisory Union. She is also the administrative assistant to the Director of Special Education, Stephanie Beatty Hancock. Joni is part of the transfer of a former homeless liaison to our current homeless liaison, of which both of them participated in a grant and a monitoring of the homeless liaison program. We did receive that grant, which is fantastic. It does provide more resources for our students and families. And part of that grant is we need to make sure that all the boards understand the process for the McKinney Vento homeless presentation. So this is Joni's 3rd time. She's making the rounds on all the board meetings. Her longest presentation is 10 minutes and 30 seconds, and her shortest is 6 minutes and 45 seconds. So she is highly efficient. She has already provided all of you with all of the documents, and she will provide you with a presentation right now.
Oh,
You're
you're on
muted though,
Joni.
Joni.
Okay, thank you, Bill, and thank you to all the board members for giving me this time. I do appreciate it. First, I just want to say the goal of these presentations through each of the school board meetings is just awareness, just making you all aware that this is out there, because inevitably, if by my group decision, we deem a family ineligible, the next step is for that family to go to dispute to the school board. And so we're just trying to make you all aware of what homelessness is. As Bill said, I am working with Stephanie in the special ed department. I have been a resident of Townsend for over 20 years, for you, those that don't know me. I will be making a much more in-depth presentation in the fall once we start back at school to the admins, principals, and guidance counselors. This is just a little snippet just to give you an idea. The team that I work with, the decision is not ultimately mine. I get a referral from the admins of each school, and I reach out to the family. Hopefully they have a phone or internet that I can reach out to them. Otherwise I send mail. But once I get their questionnaire back, sometimes it's quite clear that they meet the definition of homelessness, but other times it's not clear. So I refer to Bill. I always update Bill with any decisions I've made as well, but also Stephanie, and we have a state, Vermont state representative, Katie Preston, who I can always go to with any questions for clarification or anything like that. The most important piece, only because I've run into some situations where it wasn't clear, and I just want to make it very clear. It's in your packet, but I want to say this out loud to all of you, that the definition of homelessness for the McKinney Vento program is just a child or youth that lacks a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. And 2 can be very clear, and 1 can be very gray. What determines adequate? What is adequate for me? What is adequate for you? That's always the piece that makes us take a look at the specific situation. Again, the materials in your packet. I do have a book for each school board that is housed at the supervisory union. If you guys want to take a look at it, read it more in depth, it's an abridged version of the book that I go on that was directed to me as the liaison from the state of Vermont. One thing that is an activity or an action that you all need to take is to adopt the policy C13, which is also in your packet. It's the homeless student policy. And you have not adopted that as a board, so that is an action that I would recommend that you take, as does Bill. And I included a sample of Dover's, who is the, River Valley, who is the one school board that has adopted that policy, but they said they basically just followed that VSBA policy, VSBA policy that I also included. But I think it's important that the language stay consistent throughout the region. In your packet was also outline of the procedure SOP that is a living document that is going to be talked about at the staff professional development. I want input from all aspects. The River Valley School Board has gone through that dispute process. And so they have that firsthand knowledge. So if any of you ever wanted to reach out to one of their board members, you can do that. Are there any questions right now at this point from any of the material that I handed out or in general? No? No? Okay, great. So as you can see on the flow chart for the dispute, we have to provide services to a student, even if we've deemed them ineligible, and throughout that entire process, and that process can take up to 75 days. And we can't, we provide any and all services just as if the student were deemed eligible. So that's something to keep in mind when you guys are the first part of that process. That it drags on much further because the family can continue to appeal that decision. That's all that I really have. If there's no other questions, I appreciate your time. And Bill, I'm sorry, Bill, I just one more second. All the principals that are on here, I do have one ask of you. Because we're going to be making this presentation to you and your staff in the fall, if any questions come up between now and then, if you can give me the heads up to those questions so that I can be prepared and answer those within my presentation so that any other new questions could be answered at the same time. All right. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Joni.
Thank you.
Well, I think that probably had to set the record. You said 6 minutes, 45 seconds. Couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 minutes.
It was about 5. It was about 5.
About 5. Okay.
Getting better and better each time.
And I'm not seeing hands, but did anybody have any questions? Do you see any hands, Joe? Joni, I just have to say, amazing flowcharts.
Yeah.
And just very descriptive. I'm a very color and visual person, so that it really resonated with me. So it makes perfect sense.
It's
really.
very visual, and I appreciate that as well. Coming new to all of this, it was just very helpful to see that, because you see the whole picture. You see your part, but you see the bigger picture as well. And
Yep.
It's very helpful.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Now
right.
you've got hands.
Oh,
Okay.
Ken and then Dana.
Ken and Dana.
Ken, go ahead.
Okay, first question. On that policy, it says something about transportation must be provided for all homeless students.
Yes.
My question is, if we find out this person is not eligible for the district and then gets picked up by another district, does this district get reimbursed for the transportation cost?
So what happens is the school district where the family was last permanently housed is the leading district, and everything goes through that district. But if the family then is in temporary housing in another district, we bill back 50% of those costs. We do share
Okay.
those costs. And Dana?
Yeah, I was just wondering, do we have to run this across our policy committee? It's more of a question for my people.
Bill is saying yes.
Yes, okay.
Any other questions?
Anything else, Joe?
Not seeing anything.
Okay, great. Good questions.
All right. Thank you very much. You have a good evening.
You too, Joni. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We have a job for Mike to call a meeting.
Yeah, it's on the agenda. I'm gonna be calling one. I have the administration asked for something else from policy already, so it will be happening soon.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks for taking that up, Policy Committee. Appreciate it. All right. Now moving on to Workforce Development Update. We have Christy Betit from the Brattleboro Development Commercial Corporation. Did I get that right? I always forget BDCC.
Credit Corporation.
Credit Corporation. Thank you.
Close. We're poorly branded. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm having a bit of a delay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Good. I'm on here with my colleague Jen Stromson, and if you wouldn't mind, Bill, allowing her to share her screen with you. I'm just going to share a little bit about my program, our program from BDCC in a presentation here, and then I'll open it up for questions.
All right, Joe Winrick is the master. So
Yeah,
Joe, did you
give it
hear
a
that?
try.
Jen
I allowed
Stromston.
participants to share, so you should be able to share. If not, I'll make you host and then you'll really get to share.
Ooh.
All right.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. Thank you. So this slide looks a lot like what the kiddos saw this spring in senior survival every time they met with me and Terry Davison Berger. So I'm going to talk to you about the program Pipelines and Pathways, or P3, and how we collaborate with Leland and Gray High School. Jen, if you want to move on to the second slide, that would be great. So some of you know this, but we haven't been to a meeting in, I guess, a year, maybe a little more than a year now because of COVID. So I'm going to give you a refresher course on P3. The Pipelines and Pathways program helps students at all 4 Windham County high schools and the Windham Regional Career Center successfully prepare for and access high-wage, high-growth employment opportunities in their own communities. And it is designed for all students, whether they are college or workforce bound. So this is career readiness is for everybody. So Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, P3 is based there. It's a regional economic development organization serving southeastern Vermont. We're an active partner in regional workforce and business development, with a lot of employer relationships that I have even been building a lot this spring just for Leland and Gray students, and workforce knowledge needed to design and implement a program that straddles a variety of sectors. So P3 began, just to give you a little bit of a background, about 5 years ago. That was, I was a twinkle in P3's eye. I was living in Boston and doing workforce development for the Hotel and Restaurant Workers Union at that time. My colleague, Alex Beck, was working on the program, and we were designing it, BDCC, in response to a local employer's request for a better prepared and more robust workforce. We are having a hard time, as y'all know, connecting qualified people with jobs that are available right here in our community. And part of that is because of an aging workforce. Part of it is COVID related at this point. But also a part of it is that they've identified that our youth population is often lacking in basic employability skills like punctuality, attendance, professional appearance, that sort of thing. But beyond that, and college recruiters have also said this, our students are not succeeding necessarily during their probationary period at work or their freshman year because they're lacking, skills, soft skills like resilience and taking initiative, and just some really basic 21st century soft skills. So, and this is true of Windham County, this is true of Vermont throughout the state, and this is true of the United States. So this is not a unique problem, but this is something that P3 wanted to address. Next slide. So the big goal of P3 is a holistic approach to career and post-secondary planning that begins as early as 7th grade, and I'd love to see it start even earlier than that, but with the goal of ensuring that every student graduates with a solid plan for success after high school. So if we move on to the next slide. Great. P3 and Leland and Gray have been working together since the beginning, since 5 years ago. I came on about 3 years ago in a very serendipitous way. Very excited to come on board. I'd been doing workforce development in Boston for about a decade, working with the Hotel and Restaurant Workers Union down there, training folks for entry-level positions in high, luxury hotels where they could really have a path to the middle class. So I was able to slide into this position. And some of the things that we were doing when I first came here were worksite tours. So bringing students directly to different employers and showing them around, having the person who's the employer or person who's on the floor actually talking to the kiddos and showing them how to do things. I was also assisting with Leland and Gray's current co-op class. So going in there and teaching some resume writing workshops and some soft skills training workshops. And then we offered our sophomore summit annually for the past several years until COVID hit. And that's where every single senior from Windham County comes together and has a day-long event where they connect with employers, 15 to 20 employers from the region in sectors that interest them. And they do some hands-on work with those employers and really get to know what it's like to be an employee at that organization. So I include a little note here from Terry Davidson-Berger, who is the Multiple Pathways Coordinator and a colleague of mine who I cannot sing the praises enough for. She's been so fantastic. She says, our collaboration and partnership with P3 has been an invaluable resource for the career readiness of our students. And I'll talk a little, I'll praise her more in a moment. But we also have worked collaboratively with Leland and Gray on this past year, senior survival. So we know that this was an old program that has been resurrected, right? And that senior survival is now being required and is credit bearing for all the seniors. We, P3 got involved this past spring and really working toward elevating the rigor of the class so that, it really means something to an employer, and it really means something to a college recruiter to say, this student has been through this program and they are ready for the rigors of the professional world. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on that. I think, Jen, the syllabus is linked in the notes. Great. So I think there are approximately 17 modules that we have the students go through. And it's everything from, learning how to tie a tie, which we had a competition to see who could tie a tie the fastest. I am not good at it. To, interview basics, writing a resume and really learning about how to talk about yourself and sell yourself with an elevator pitch. Doing interview practice. We had students, in addition to practicing with Terry and I and with their fellow students, having professionals from the area come in and do mock interviews with them and give them feedback in real time. And then the final piece, which I'll talk further about, but was the informational interviews. So connecting students directly with the career that they find interesting, connecting them with an employer in the area who's doing that career so that they can sit down and ask questions of them. Oh, my shepherd's pie is done. Okay, sorry. Awesome, great. So this is one of the first things that the students saw at the beginning of the year. was, how are you going to make it through senior survival, and how are you going to actually do it successfully? And they were very simple requirements, especially for COVID. They may become more rigorous as we get back in person, but obviously attend all the classes because that's what your employer expects of you as an employee. Complete all your homework assignments, maintain a positive attitude, and do your best. And the grading policy was Leland and Gray's policy with the 20% habits of learning and 80% summative assessments playing into that. So that is what they first saw at the very beginning, very clear expectations. This is what we want from you. This is what an employer is going to expect of you. This is what you're going to be expected to do as a freshman in college. So next slide. We tempted them also, we had to, because it's, senior year, COVID, to let them know that this was really a valuable experience for them. Obviously they would, attain additional knowledge, clarity, and confidence about their next steps. But we also want to honor that the hard work that the students did by giving them some teal honor cords that they'll be wearing at graduation this week, certificates of completion, and the most important part to me, which is the Wyndham Work Ready credential. And the credential indicates to employers and college recruiters that students have been through this program and they are ready to take their first steps into the professional world. Next slide. Also, it's a great resume builder for students, obviously. We provided that guaranteed interview with an employer of choice in the region, and that was a fantastic experience, not only for the students, but also for the employer. I should probably go back to that quote from earlier that one of the students gave a little reflection on what they had experienced. Jen, do you have that? I'm putting you on the spot there, but yeah, so Owen Emmeden, class of 2021, he says, the interview with Ben Hardwood of Stevens and Associates was especially helpful to me because it backed up my idea of swapping majors to civil engineering, and I believe I will follow through with this decision. So they had a really nice conversation, just the two of them, and Ben Hardwood grew up in Vermont too, so they had a lot of similarities in that regard, and they were able to just have a really nice conversation and pull apart like what makes more sense. Should I do mechanical engineering, civil engineering? So then back to that one. So also after the guaranteed interview, there is a $500 scholarship that we are providing to one outstanding senior. Last year we was the first time that we ever did this award. And that your student is right to the right there. And why am I forgetting his name? Jen, do you remember his name? What is wrong with me? It's written in the notes. Y'all know who he is. I'll find it. Anyway.
Yeah, Austin Meeks, it's in there.
Thank you, Austin Meeks. Thank you very much. Sorry, I have students at 5 separate schools, so my brain doesn't always latch on. Yeah, so Austin Meeks received that $500 scholarship to be used for anything career and education related for being an outstanding student last year. So we're really excited. We'll be awarding that student, a new student this year at graduation. It is a secret. I will not tell you until Saturday. Every student will get a P3 hoodie. And we're going to obviously promote this in the newspaper because it's a big deal that students got through this, especially during such a difficult time. So next. Right. So that's what we did this year, despite all of the challenges. Next year, we will continue to do senior survival. We will continue our sophomore summit. We'll be doing that in the fall. We will offer guest speaker panels and worksite tours to all of the core content teachers. So if they want people to come into their classroom who are related to, STEM related careers and healthcare, we will bring them in. Worksite tours, we will take your kids and we will pop them on a bus and take them there. And what else? One more slide. We're right now just at last minute funding from the Vermont Department of Labor to do a couple of paid summer internships and job shadows, which is incredible. It's a great pilot. I know that it's going to be successful. And if that is the case, then I hope that we'll be able to continue that and do some more paid internships and job shadows for students at the school. I know as a kid who grew up in Vermont, I wasn't able to do internships because I couldn't afford it. I had to go sling, burgers instead. So it's a real, social justice equity issue for me. So I get very excited about the idea of being able to provide funding for students to be able to participate in those kinds of activities. And then we're also playing around with the idea of a reality fair, which we will tell you a little bit more about, but it's essentially like the game of life where students get a paycheck and they have to make it through a variety of challenges, paying your rent, paying for your car, paying for your phone, and then you find out that you have no money at the end of the month. So that'll be a fun thing that we hope we will do in the spring. And I think that's all I've got for you for updates. So happy to answer questions, and just really excited that your school has really taken the lead in terms of career education, and of all of the Windham County schools, this is the one that is saying this is important, and we're gonna, put our money where our mouth is. So I really, really appreciate that. And yes, looks like
that was
Bob.
fantastic. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I just want to say thank you to Christy and her colleagues. I think partnership that we have has really been incredibly powerful for them as well as for us and for our kids. And what she described is really very true, and it's really paid dividends for so many of our kids. And the proof is in the individual quotes you hear, like that one example that they showed, and Austin's use of his scholarship to start his own business. And there's been some really cool stories that have come out of this. And we definitely owe a debt of gratitude to the community too, who have owned these businesses that take these kids in and work with them and agree to do all this. It's really incredible. And I'll leave you with this one thought. Last year was the first year that we did this, but we're doing it again this year. At graduation, it used to be that you would maybe read off the schools that kids were going to. We read off the schools they're going to, and if they're going into the workforce, where they're working. And we have made a pledge to ensure that every student has a plan when they graduate, and that everyone has a job to go into. So if they're not going to college or the military, they have a job, and we're announcing that at graduation for each kid as they go through the line. So just a cool way of highlighting the work that Christy and Terry and everyone has done with this program. So excellent work.
Thanks, Bob. We really, really could not have done it without the support of you and Bill. So I can't thank you enough.
All right, Joe, do we have any other hands for Christy?
Not that I see, no.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Awesome.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch next year. Have
Thanks,
a good summer.
Christy. You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Wow. Some great presentations tonight. This is fantastic. Really good stuff.
And efficient. Fantastic and efficient.
Yes. Two very good words. Speaking of, all right, Bill, here we go. New business. Appointment process for unfilled positions. We have a clerk appointment. I believe it is Sarah.
Yeah, it's Sarah Wiswall. I'm probably saying her name wrong. Who is the current town clerk for Jamaica, has stepped up to receive appointment from the board to be the West River Education District clerk, if it pleases the board.
I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any
Dana.
discussion? Thanks, Dana. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, say aye. Thumbs up.
I'll say aye. I got a medical issue in my thumbs right now, so
Okay.
I can't raise them.
Any opposed? All right, none opposed. Motion carries again unanimously.
For our second one, Al, we have not received any formal contact of a citizen from Jamaica being interested. Dana, one of our Jamaica representatives, did receive an informational contact of which he has gotten back to that person, but we are still waiting to hear of any interested parties. With the board's permission, I wrote up and put on Front Porch Forum. Actually, Mike Foley did that for me. Thank you, Mike. I will do that again. I will also contact the local newsletter that goes out in Jamaica, I believe, every month.
Jackie Brown.
Yes, very, very nice person that I talked to a little while ago. So I will continue that outreach, and Dana will follow up with the person that reached out to him. But I'd like to just continue to put this on the agenda until we get somebody that brings themselves forward, if that is okay with the board.
Any objection? No. All right. Sounds like a great plan. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. All right. Moving on to our Journey East update. Bob.
All right, so this is sort of round 3 of this. So a year or 2 ago, Jesse and I came to the board to sort of talk a little bit about what the future looked like, and it was not full of a lot of detail, but we knew that financially things were going to be challenging for the Journey East program. As things have sort of sussed out, we have really boiled it down into a very specific document, which we shared with you guys last month. Hopefully you guys still have that document, but in short, we wanted to delay the conversation of that till tonight. And we had some people who are going to be available to join us. I believe Tom Connor, who was one of the originators of the program, I believe is on with us tonight. Tom and Jenny, and Jesse is obviously with us again tonight as well. In just a short recap, that at this point, well, the short version is that originally there was funding coming out of the Freeman Foundation to help offset the cost of the students paid to go on the trip, and a bunch of other things as well. I'm really simplifying this, but and Tom will give us a lot more detail, I'm sure. As that grant money went away, we moved into sort of what I call phase 2, where we tried to solicit tuition students from China to come to Leland and Gray and pay tuition. And that helped kind of balance things out for a little bit. But as the scene for enrollments of Chinese students has become more competitive, and us being a public school only have the ability to host them for 1 year. Some private schools have the ability to host for longer than that, the type of visas that they have. And then of course with COVID, that stream of flow of money has also declined and basically disappeared as of right now. So we needed to figure out what phase 3 will be, how to make the program sustainable. So we really put our heads together and met with Lori Garland and Bill, and came forward with really two pathways as far as how to move forward from here. One of them is basically to bring somebody on for a short-term period to explore feasibility financially, try to come up with some creative ways to make this program continue to last. And there's a cost associated with that that we would need a commitment from the board in order to do. Or option B would be in some way to gracefully end the Journey East program in Leland and Gray. And as we will run out of money if we don't begin to fund it some other mechanism. So I'm happy to take any questions on that, but as far as more of the historical perspectives, and I know Tom certainly wants to speak about the community impact of the Journey East program, because it is way more than a trip. And I think Tom would like to much more eloquently than I be able to articulate that. But I can take any other questions folks have along the way as well.
Joe, do we have any questions? No.
My word. Nothing yet, Al. I'll let you know.
Okay, appreciate it. All right, did we want to go over to Tom and Jenny? Yes.
Can you hear us?
Yep, sure.
Yeah, okay. Can you see us?
I sort of see Jenny, half her face.
Okay, then you were on. All right, I'd just like to speak to something that Bob mentioned a minute ago, that a lot of people, I think most people, or many people who have not been a part of the program, really don't have a sense of the scope of the whole thing. I always saw it right from the beginning as a community education program, as well as a travel program to China for kids. So we've had over the course of 20 years, probably over 200 Chinese and Mongolian students and teachers here, counting, as you know, because you've hosted, counting teachers and school presidents and so on. These folks have all been hosted by local families, generally 22 people per program coming in from Inner Mongolia, and 11 to 12 hosts for each one of those 10 programs where they've come here. Some of those people have hosted a few times. You have, Al. I know that the Tietzes have. I know that Bauman has, Rick Jones, Carol, Laura Hazard, but it's actually, there's actually a fair number of people in every town in the district who have chosen to host these students and teachers, most of whom speak, as you know, virtually no English. They've just started using translators in the last, translators meaning, portable, electronic, whatever, translators. So we've had, there's been a significant impact in the community, in the different communities that Leland and Gray serves, with these students and teachers from another country. So they've gone into the grocery stores, they've gone into the post office they become visible, very visible in the communities. And I think that's been a very important piece. Also from the perspective of the community, in the process of preparing our kids to go to China for a month, I set up evening sessions, basically an educational component for the parents of the kids who were going to be part of the program. So I would invite professors from the University of Vermont, Asian Studies professors, to come down and make presentations. I think we had as many as 8 and as few as 6 sessions. Parents were required to come to those sessions, or at least one parent was required to come to those sessions. And they would learn, they would hear the straight skinny from experts in the field, mostly from UVM. Additionally, in terms of community, I would always make sure that we took our Mongolian friends to perform at the assisted living home in Townsend. That was an annual thing, which the people who were there loved, and which they really and truly did, and which the Mongolians did as well. Additionally, our kids performed in not only at Leland and Gray, but for the entire elementary population in the district on their return from China. And our students also were spreading the word. We performed at Mount St. Joseph, at Proctor High School, at Green Mountain, at Twin Valley, at Milton, at Essex, at Danville, at People's Academy. So we would take our show on the road to spread the word to the greater community, the greater Vermont community. So the community piece was a really, really important part of the operation. So I just wanted to get that out there. This program is not just an opportunity for 16 to, well, we've had as many as 29 students go. It's not just an opportunity for them to go to China for, for a month and whiz bang, that was great, and so on. We have many of our students have gone on to university. The oldest students, the students who are in the very first program that we had are now 37 to 38 or 39 years old. Some of them are working in China. Some of them are working in fields related to what they studied and well, many of them are working in fields that were related to what they were doing in college. A lot of it having to do with international relations or China. What else? Other components to the program, which are probably maybe of less concern to you guys right now. We also ran professional development programs for teachers. So there were 2 different groups of teachers, I think is probably 16 or 18 teachers in all, who participated in professional development programs that we set up in China. So they'd go through the same evening sessions that I had the parents and kids go through together. And then they traveled to China with me for 2.5 weeks. And got professional development credit for that. And then the deal was that they would come back and develop teaching units that they would share with the students in their classrooms, which they did. Do you have questions for me?
Tom, thank you. That was really explained the scope of it. But yeah, definitely love to see if anybody had some questions out there. Joe, I don't know if you, I mean, Joe also very heavily involved in the program. I see the Atleys out there as well, that very, very strong and in long-term involvement in it. So, Joe, do you see any hands for questions, or did you want to speak to yourself?
No questions yet. You're right. My family hosted students from before my children were in Leland and Gray through, we lost a Chinese student. Well, like he went to be hosted elsewhere during COVID. We are long supporters of the program.
That's for sure. We also used to run, although it was not technically part of Journey, summer programs for Chinese students, young Chinese students, middle school and early high school, who would come to here for a couple of weeks. And Joe hosted students from
we still stay in touch with a few of those students, and they're all college graduates at this point.
Yeah. Funny the way
it's
that
a
works.
long relationship that develops very quickly. And now you're getting hands.
Joe was always
All right.
when we had our cookouts for all the parents, all the kids, and all the Chinese students. Bill, was there anything else you wanted me to address?
No, I think you gave the breadth, which was perfect. And we want to get some questions out there. And then I think we should probably reshare the document that Bob shared at the last meeting so that everybody kind of understands the context for the decision that the board is going to need to make eventually. Thank you very much, Tom.
So I do see Howie's hand. Go ahead, Howie.
Patty Dixon.
Pat, okay.
Yeah, I want to speak as strongly as possible in favor of Journey East, and anybody who's interested and is on Facebook ought to go to the Journey East Facebook page, where there is a string of positive feedback for this program that is just unbelievable. There is no program Leland Gray has ever offered that has the impact on kids that this program has had and on our community. I mean, kids have gone on to careers in China. Kids have gone out to careers in international trade. Kids who have never been out of the country and never would have an opportunity to get out of the country have been on stage performing. It's impacted families. It's impacted other schools. There is no single program at Leland and Gray that has had this impact. I mean, I defy anybody to point one out, whether it's sports or theater or anything. Those are great programs, no doubt. But this Journey East program has just been fantastic. My kids were part of it. I've seen the impact it has. I think that I understand that we need, to add another person to deal with the fundraising and the promotion that's required. I mean, Tom and Jenny had, left big shoes to fill. I think there's a lot of money that's coming into educational systems. We're in a cycle of increasing spending coming out of this pandemic. And I think if we are willing to invest in putting a person on to solicit this money and promote this program, it's well worth it. It is the singular most unique thing about our school that puts it on the map. Without Journey East, our claim to fame is we're the smallest school in Southern Vermont. I mean, yeah, we have great programs, but that's where it leaves us. This is something we can, with the right person in this spot that Bob is proposing, we could really take off with this. So that's my perspective.
Howie, thank you for your kind words. I would also encourage all the board members to go onto the Journey East Reflections project on the website. Howie was referring to that. A few years ago, I put it out there to students who I had contact information for and asked them if they would write some reflections on the impact of the program. And quite honestly, 33 students responded, and there are 33 essays. And quite honestly, this is going to sound pretty hokey maybe, but it almost brings tears to my eyes when I read some of those reflections. It's just pretty amazing. But I would encourage you to read those.
On a very different subject with all of this, this is Jenny, by the way. We're in a place in our country right now where Asian people are being targeted, and as the grandparent of Asian of biracial children whose mother is Japanese, I'm really concerned for my grandkids, but for Asian kids all over this country who are being targeted. We have something in Journey East, we have something that's giving our kids an eye into what other cultures are about, what Asian cultures are about. Because while there's always been a focus on China, the kids in their academic work have also looked at other Asian countries. And I think we have something in Journey East that other schools should want to be doing right now, especially in a place like Vermont where the kids don't have a lot of access to other cultures. One of the things I remember, one of the early kids who went was Joel Eisenkramer.
Yeah.
And when we came back from China, and after our performance, the kids, the audience was encouraged to ask kids questions about their trip. And Joel made a very brief statement and said, well, if we ever had to go to war, I wouldn't be going to war against China because these people are my friends. And I think that, you know, that kind of relationship with people from another culture makes a big difference in terms of these kids understanding that, you know, they're pretty much like us, with a little different. So I think losing this kind of a program when, you know, when we're facing what we're facing in this country would really be a travesty.
I also think, I mean, we're here now in Belfast, Maine. We've talked about Journey East with lots of people, and they are incredulous that it is in a small public high school. Number one, they assume it must be a private school. But they're incredulous that it is a small public school in rural Vermont, that this kind of program exists. They just can't believe it. So hopefully they will continue not being able to believe it a few years.
Thanks, Tom. I know I've Joe, we had Patty's hand up for a while, and I see Bob.
And you've got Emily as well.
Okay, let's go Patty, Bob, and then Emily. Sorry, go ahead, Patty.
Yeah, my daughter went to Journey East, an incredible program, amazing. And I also would hope that the board would realize that this is probably more appropriate decision or application for, you've got a group of people who are doing amazing work in the long-term planning process. And this is, I would assume, part of that, because it's been here for a long time. And it's a decision that probably, a recommendation that probably should be thought of for that group, because they're doing amazing work. And I think that would kind of put a kink in whatever they're trying to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. That's a great point. And so speaking of long-term planning, I know that they're probably not going to be ready to present until July or August meeting. So it probably would be not a good time to make a decision at this point. So I definitely love hearing the conversation, but I don't think we're going to have a decision tonight, I would imagine. Go ahead, Bob, and then Emily.
Well, just want to say a couple of quick things. One, Jesse had sent me the link. So Al, I emailed it to you, to your school board email address if you wanted to share it out, because there's no ability to comment within this context, but there is an address for that description that Tom was talking about, the reflections. So, and I just want to say a quick thing about, I mean, I'm a parent of the program member as well, and can speak to that as well. But I really want to just mention the idea that going off of what Tom said and what Jenny said too, I think the time is right to potentially get some money into this. I really do. I really believe that right now is an excellent time to consider that. And, you know, Jesse and I, in our conversations about this, like, we both feel very passionately about the program. I mean, certainly Tom and Jenny are even more so. But both of us felt like neither of us are really qualified to do the level of work that we're talking about to make this happen. And I just want people to understand that that's why, you know, having someone who would do that as a full-time entity for a year or two to really explore that and try to make it sustainable. And, you know, it would really put that kind of power in that person's hands. And we would find that person, not necessarily an educator, obviously, but someone who has an interest in public education, but someone who has experience in that fundraising, program management type of role as well. So just want to clarify, that's, you know, Jesse, just, you know, with her teaching and other responsibilities, and obviously with me as a principal, we're just neither of us are either trained or equipped to do that or have the time to do that outside of our regular role. So we really felt it was important for the board, if you wanted to continue they really need to be a separate entity, and that's why the cost does appear to be so high. But that's why. So I just wanted to make sure people understood that as we were looking forward.
No, it is more than a full-time job.
That's for sure. Go ahead, Emily.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Tom and Jenny, for being here tonight. It's really important to hear from you about this incredibly important program. And I want to just echo Howie's comments and all of yours who are speaking in support of this program. I cannot say enough about how critical it is to try to maintain this type of a signature program that has really been incredibly important for our small rural high school. And we really, as you all know, I've been here a long time, we struggle all the time to be competitive. And I want to echo Jenny's comments about this is the time to be growing a program like this, not doing away with a program like this. You couldn't ask for a better time for us to be expanding on this. I understand the challenges. I recognize that. I recognize what we're up against, but I don't want to just shut the door on something that's so critically important for us and for our students and our communities and for our state. So one of the things I just wanted to say is that I don't know whether there's been any outreach to our congressional delegation, but I think there should be if there hasn't been. We need to be thinking creatively about how we can support something that is so important and has been such an important program for putting Leland and Gray on the map. I can tell you, people know about Leland and Gray because of this program, and I know everybody has heard the thanks going to Tom and Jenny, and you can't minimize those, but there's been a lot of other people who have really supported this, and many of them are sitting right here in this small Zoom screen right now. And so, and I'll just say my own daughter went through this program and still speaks so highly of it. So I'm here to say whatever we can do to support this, we should be doing. Let's keep exploring what we can do to find the funds to grow this program.
Thank you very much, Emily. An interesting comment about the congressional delegation. Is there any way potentially that you could help facilitate something like that?
I don't have any insight into the congressional delegation, but I'm happy to explore. Sure.
Excellent.
But I just think that, based on the comments that Jenny made, and I totally agree with those. I think that this is the right time for us to be reaching out on a larger scale to this. So, yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I've had two already through the program, one going next year, and just the ability to have that world view that you just can't replace. And I grew up in Toronto, in a very multicultural, multi-ethnic city. It's something that you cannot replace. You just living here in Vermont, you need to go out and actually see it and explore it and be a part of it to really understand. And yes, as Jenny described, there's the anti-Asian sentiment in this country is just crazy, and we need to do anything we can to show that that's something. Joe, did we have any other hands?
No, there are no other hands, although you could get one at any moment here.
All right, so Bob, I know you described earlier kind of the two different paths that we had described, but just so for everybody to kind of understand what are the financial implications. So if you want to kind of just go over that real quick.
Absolutely. So we are estimating that in order to move forward, that we're really looking at kind of a 2-year commitment from the board, and that would be for school years 23 and 24. The trip is happening next year. There's money for that, and then the following year we would have funds to do the hosting component as well. But for school year 23 and 24. What we see as necessary is in 23 would be to invest, salary and benefits package, and I estimate at 100,000. I don't know what it would actually cost, or what the expertise would need, and what the market drives for someone of that nature. But that sort of contribution for 2 years And then in the second year in SY24, an additional $100,000 to help offset the cost of the program for the trip that year. And of course, every time you do a trip, the reciprocation is that we receive them afterwards as well. So there would be implications in the SY25 as well. But that we didn't include that as because we figured at that point we're kind of digging ourselves in. But we knew that basically that we're talking a multi-year, pretty significant contribution to bring on that person to not only run the program but to do that sustainability study, if you will, to explore what options are out there, to seek out the sources of income, you know, as you guys described, to you know, talk to the legislative bodies, to do all the things that you guys have all just talked about, basically, and to have the expertise and the space to do that. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Is roughly 100 in year one and roughly 200 in the second year. And this would all be would begin with this fall's budget development for the following fiscal year. So yeah, so that's what we're looking for. And we know that's a lot. We know there's many other constraints in the budget. We know there's, you know, changes to special ed. We know all these other things that are going to factor into tax rates and so on and so forth. But that's why we felt that it was a really important community decision. And as the representatives of the community, the board should really be the ones deciding what to do and what that should look like. So does that answer your question, Al?
Yeah, no, it certainly does. And I would say, unless we have any other comments or discussion, this is certainly something we don't need to decide tonight. It's, you know, it's for the budget. I would certainly encourage all of us to talk to our community members over the summer, gain more feedback, look at all the information. And, you know, if our administration can chase down any possible, you know, financial pathways that we haven't thought about, including the congressional delegation, anything like that. So yeah, I think we have some time. So, you know, without objection, I think we can move this to a decision at a later point, closer to budget season.
You've got one more hand now.
Oh,
not two.
I saw Bob. Anybody else? Who was?
Tom.
Tom.
I would just say, if you want to invest money in programs that change people's lives, this is one to invest in because it absolutely changes people's lives.
Thanks, Tom.
Well said. The only thing I was going to add to your comment about the timing, Al, is like I do agree that it's not essential to make a decision tonight. However, and Tom can maybe better answer this, and Jesse can chime in as well. But there's a point at which the communication and the interactions with the folks in China and in Inner Mongolia are really important to give them you know, heads up as to what's happening. So, and I don't know what that is. I don't know. There's a magical date or time to say, hey, by the way, this isn't happening, or by the way, this is happening. But those are things that we should also consider. I don't know if it's simply just a budget development like November thing, or whether it's something that we need more notice on. And I defer to Tom and Jesse on that. But I just wanted, that's one thing we should be thinking about as far as the timeline goes.
Good point, Bob. I don't think we would be waiting until November. I think I was thinking more August, maybe September at latest meeting, definitely pre-budget and planning. So as long as you tell us that that's an okay timeframe, I think that would make sense. Jesse, you?
I think that would be an okay timeframe from my perspective, for sure. It's more that when we're over there, having that information would be good, but before, as long as it's before the trip itself, I believe it would be fine.
All right.
Tom, you can chime in.
Go ahead, Howie.
Al, you've got Mike Gatley as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Okay. Go ahead, Howie, and then Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, if we get the right person for the first year, that person could potentially raise the funds to cover the second year. I mean, there are arts, you know, just the Arts Council alone has huge grants for touring companies. There's the Vermont Arts Council, the National Council for the Arts. So I would suggest that Jesse and Bob start putting feelers out for finding the right person. I mean, I think the board I'm hoping that the board would fund a position. So now's the time to just start asking around. Maybe find a Journey East alumni who would be excited about, doing this. Having an enthusiastic candidate would go a long way. So just something to think about as we move forward.
Thanks, Howie. And I know you have a lot of connections in that regard, so maybe you could lean in as well.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, can you hear me okay? I don't know how this works really. Okay. Guys, if I was a little confused and it was a little alarming. It sounds like there's a chance for this thing to poop out. And it's obviously bucks, the usual stuff, and it's kind of silly for us to chime in here. Our two kids, this was the best thing that ever happened to them, blah, blah, but it's really true. And it's the best thing that happened to them at Leland and Gray. And we sat here and watched about 1 billion other kids. We kept kind of something going with some of these Chinese folks for years after. I guess we still do even. And we're just the old guys, but the kids themselves, it's just, if there's any chance of losing this, holy smoke, it's really alarming. Again, it's the best thing, the school to me it ever had going for it. So I just hope whatever's happening with the Bucks, and I guess we'll find out. I know it's always Bucks, but guys, this was just so incredibly valuable, and everything that everybody has said, I think it's hard to imagine anybody saying this is not a good idea. So as usual, it's just money, I guess, is unless somebody thinks, I can't imagine anybody thinking it's a bad idea. But anyway, we're sitting here and we figured we ought to chime in. This is Marilee and I, just to say it's great and basically second everything everybody said, and to say, boy, anything we can do, anything anybody can do to make this keep going. My goodness.
And I did want to echo that we live in such a homogenous place, and it was just such a great experience for our kids to see other kinds of faces in other places, and it's just so important to expand their worldviews like that. Thank you for all you did.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Marilee. Appreciate it. Joe, anybody else?
I don't think so. Tom again.
No,
Go ahead, Tom.
I'll pass this time.
Okay.
I'm like, no.
All right. So without objection, if we can move this to maybe the August or September meeting, that would be fantastic. And again, yeah, I would encourage everybody to reach out and talk to community members, and then also the financial angle, looking to see if there are ways to pay for it that we just haven't seen yet or looked or explored. Any objection to that? All right, seeing none. Thanks everybody who just participated in that. I'd really appreciate it. And now we'll move on to the Leland and Gray exploration of PBGR.
All right, so I am just going to give you guys a little taste because we are not quite ready for prime time with this one yet. But I want people to know that as we have come out of COVID, as we begin to think about some of the challenges that COVID has presented around engagement and student apathy, we're trying to figure out ways to be more creative and think about a school day in terms of I don't know, just reinventing what we do. So a while back, I think it was in my first year here, we did a little exploration in a design thinking activity where we brought in an outside expert in design thinking, and the staff went through these different ruminations of reinventing Leland and Gray and reinventing who we are and what we do. And it led to some really cool conversations and some really neat ideas. One of those ideas was and this is actually mislabeled early in here. It's not PBGR, it's PBL, project-based learning. a PBL Academy that we developed for seniors. It was a interdisciplinary course that students could take that was project-based, that met the proficiencies for those kids. They would identify which proficiencies they're meeting, and they would develop these projects that were of interest to them, that they could earn credit for, in lieu of other types of classes. So that experiment went on a couple of years, and it was sort of the culminating work of this design thinking activity. So the next step of that, we believe, and the staff is spending some more time talking about on Wednesday, is to develop some kind of alternative schedule on 1 day a week to implement this project-based learning. And it's really just it's funny, we were talking about Journey East just before this, because Journey East is the ultimate project-based learning experience. The kids develop their own project that is a show, and then they take it on the road, and they meet a variety of different proficiencies along the way. The cultural stuff is the frosting on the cake, as I think about it, because I really think the experience of crafting their own show and being able to present it is incredible learning opportunity for kids. So we're just thinking about how to do that. So we're at the really early stages of it, exploring what sort of PD we'd have for teachers to develop learning in project-based learning for themselves, and then how we would roll out something to kids as well. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of a teaser on that. There's a chance at the high school level, we might be coming to you guys with some information about some delayed start Wednesdays. Not every Wednesday, but spread throughout the year, a number of them, for our staff to engage in more professional learning about this, and some collaborative time to plan units. And then have some classes on Wednesdays, and then have some blocks of time for project-based learning, and have that grow and evolve as we go through the grades, as we go through the next couple of years. So I don't have a lot of detail for you yet, but I wanted you to know we were talking about it. We hope to have been earlier along with our staff in the development of this, but obviously the spring, there's been some events that have caused us to delay this work. And so we're getting to the meat of the matter this week. So no action at this point. Happy to take any questions if you want to peek under the curtain, but I'm keeping it purposefully vague right now because my staff is not fully in the loop on the final sort of presentation we're doing for them on Wednesday.
Probably doesn't make sense to ask questions if it's not fully baked, but so without objection, we can move on. Unless, did anybody have any questions, Joe?
Not a hand, so everyone agrees with you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bob. All right, moving on to financial management questionnaire. And Bill or Lori, is Lori on?
Lori's here.
Lori's there. So Lori, do we need to read this one by one? And no?
No,
I'm sorry.
that you can just glance over it and go ahead and basically acknowledge that you have seen it and sign off on it.
So is that a motion to sort
Yes,
of
a
acknowledge
motion
receipt?
for the board chair to sign this document after acknowledging the receipt of this document and its contents.
All right, I'll make that motion.
Great motion. Second?
Ken will second it.
Thank you, Ken. Any
I
discussion?
thought that's what you were fishing for.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Drew may be
No.
having internet issues.
Nobody opposed. Nobody opposed.
All right. Hey, Drew. Drew's at work. Thanks. All right. So motion carries unanimously. And let's see, moving on to Waiting Study Coalition. Boy, where to start? I can't say enough about the impact of the lobbying efforts where it was passed unanimously in the House and in the Senate and signed by our governor. Just amazing. So this coalition that we signed on to during our last meeting, obviously it takes money to run these organizations and to have these lobbying efforts. Bill, if you could tell me how much each of the schools are providing for funds, I would agree that we need to do the same.
Sure. So far, Marlboro has contributed $1,500 and River Valleys has contributed $2,000. And if the West River Board would like to contribute to the coalition, it's up to you guys to decide on that amount. And it goes to a nonprofit, 5013C, and it's basically a donation. You would be making a donation to the coalition.
Thanks, Bill. And Lori, just give me a ballpark on how much we are saving each year on the excess spending threshold that will be eliminated for this year and next year. Oh, you're on mute.
It ended up to be about 14 cents on the tax rate. So I don't have that total calculation. I can get it, but I think in terms of the tax rate, it was 14 cents.
Wow. Okay. So, and I don't want to say that's completely due to the coalition, but definitely no, Emily says no, but but very helpful. So I would say that I don't know what anybody else thinks, but we probably should at least match Marlboro's or move up to River Valley's somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 seems about right. So I don't know what everybody else thinks.
I move we make a 1,500 contribution.
Thanks, Howie. Do we have a second?
Ken has his hand up, Al. He may be wanting to second.
Oh, Ken, did you second it?
Ken's frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, Ken's frozen.
Would anybody else like to second it?
I'll second it, Al. Dana.
Thank you, Dana. Any discussion?
Yeah,
They just missed out on all that.
I'll say something.
All right, go ahead, Howie.
That the state has been discriminating against small town schools ever since they took over the funding of schools, and it's about time that they correct this. We're entitled to have schools in our town. It's in the Constitution. The state is funding those schools. They cost more to run in small towns. It's not fair to base it on, the number of pupils. And if you're going to do that, you have to make allowances. So it's sad that we have to pay to lobby our own government to do the right thing, but here we are. So I hope it's successful, and I hope we get I hope the state acknowledges its job to maintain a school in each town.
Thanks, Howie. Well said. Dana, did you want to have any comment as a second on that?
I was just going to amend Howie's thing and say split the difference.
I'm sorry, meaning?
Between Marlboro's 1,500 and the others, River Valley's 2,000. Just put 1,800. But we can keep it at 50. Keep it at 50.
Yeah, we're a little school. We have enough problems. 1,500 is good.
Okay. We always have the opportunity for more. Yes.
You have a hand of Mike Foley.
Oh, Mike, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to echo the support for this as well. We, our taxpayers have been being shortchanged. Our kids have been being shortchanged, and now there is momentum to try to do something about it. Let's do it. I'd even be okay with the 2,000, but if Howie wants to stick with 15, I'm there too.
Let's see how they spend that.
There we go. All right. Any other discussion?
I'm curious, Al, do we have any idea other than sort of a sustaining funds here, is there a purpose outlined for this funding? I mean, the lobbying effort is kind of done, the bill is signed and passed, and the task force is created, and it's kind of like we're giving them the money after the fact rather than ahead of it, or is there some additional cause here?
Yeah, I didn't know Bill would speak to this, but yeah, there'll be a continued lobbying effort. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
No, I mean, basically it's to make sure that the work of the task force is being observed and communicated to during that task force period of time.
Right. So Joe, we kind of got phase one, right? So we have this bridge now where they took care of the excess spending threshold for a couple of years. And as we all can probably guess, it'll be a phased in approach with the weighting study. So we'll get like a 3-year phase in. So it's almost like it'll just keep it on a level playing field over that time frame. First, it'll be taken up by the excess spending threshold, and then we'll have the reduction in tax rate with the weighting study, which would probably be roughly the same, I think, different town by town, but I think when the study came out, Townsend, for example, was 29 cents. Does that sound right, Lori? 29 cent reduction?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've
looked at it,
so I'm not sure.
Yeah, but significant numbers. So. Anyway.
Right, you've got hands going down the line now. I think.
Oh, okay.
Dana, Emily, Mike.
Go ahead, Emily, and then Mike.
And Dana.
Emily, Mike, Dana.
Thank you. I just wanted to make 2 comments. First of all, our boards and our board members are excellent lobbyists for what we fight for. And we had some significant feedback from Wyndham Central during the process. And I think I would urge that to continue, regardless of what you decide to do on any lobbying funds. Because we are our own best advocates for ourselves as elected officials representing the students and communities. So I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that, number one. Number two, we pay dues to an organization that actually does hire, lobbyists, that are registered lobbyists. And I want to make sure that we are doing the outreach to the Vermont School Boards Association to say, we need you to be lobbying on our behalf. And if you do not, we already pay for lobbying. So if we do not feel like we're getting the support we need there, we need to ask for more support there. I'm not trying to say we aren't, because I think we are, because, I know they testify regularly in the legislature, but I'm just saying, remember, there are other paths for lobbying that we already either pay for, or we are sometimes our own best advocates. And some Wyndham Central board members did speak to this in committee, and we're very powerful advocates on our own without spending dollars. So.
Thanks, Emily. Yeah, no, great reminder. More resources for sure. Mike, and then Dana.
I just have a question because do we know, has the governor said if he's going to let this pass or not? Because I know we sent some emails, urging him to not to veto the bill that would give us the 2-year.
Oh, he signed it.
He signed it?
He signed it. Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
And Dana.
I'm good, Al.
You good?
Emily brought up what I was wondering what Vermont School Board Association was doing for us. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, I was just going to say that when you do the vote, I would encourage you to do a roll call vote, just because we're talking about money to an organization. So it's probably important to allow everybody's voice to be heard on that.
Great point. Yep. All right, let's go ahead and do we have any other discussion? Did I miss anybody, Joe?
I don't see anything.
Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that roll call. And I'll just use my screen. So let's go with Ken.
Aye.
And Mike.
Aye.
And scrolling. Emily,
I'm going to abstain.
Howie,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dana,
I'll abstain.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
and Drew.
Aye.
All right, did we get a count on that? Was that 7 and 2, 8 and 2?
With that, are you going to vote or are you not going to vote?
Oh, I will vote aye.
Okay, 8 aye, 2 abstention. That's the total of 10.
Okay, thank you. All right, motion carries. Thanks, everyone. All right, let's see, moving on to approved signing of the TAN, the tax anticipation note. Or if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. It's this time of the year when we are looking to actually start the new year. And this is a stopgap before the tax dollars come in. We have payroll and AP that happens in July and August and September until till a significant amount of tax money comes in October. It is a $1.9 million line of credit, so it doesn't mean we have to use it all. So that is a good news on that. I was able to pay back the TAN early this past year and saved about $15,000 in interest. So, you know, it's just it's again a line of credit. So I need a motion for the board to authorize the borrowing of the tax anticipation note, the loan, and for the board chair to sign off on it and the treasurer. And then I will also need the email of the new clerk because she also will need to sign it.
I could provide that for you, Laurie.
Thank you.
In the amount of 1.9 million, correct?
1.9 million, yes.
I will make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Thank you, Dana. All right, Bill, we don't need a roll call for this, correct? No, we're good to go. It's
No.
great. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I will also say aye. So all those motion carries
Thank you.
unanimously. Thank you, Laurie. Let's see, approved contracts, including new hire.
So I've got 2 new hires. I'll let Craig Roach speak to one. I'll let Scotty Tabachnik speak to the other. And then I just need the board to approve for the board chair to sign contracts as we are still rolling through interviews. So I'll need just a motion to hire the 2 that are presented to you tonight, and then a second motion that just allows the board chair to sign contracts.
I'll jump on in here first. So in your board packet, you have a letter of recommendation from me, which was created on behalf of Hannah Parker and Abby Welch, who was our nurse and one of our school counselors. We interviewed for 1.4 counselors that was added through ESSER. We were able to find a 1.0 full-time grant-funded counselor position. And through that interview process, we recommend Kiet Coble to fill that.
Perfect, Craig. Now let's let Scotty go, and then they can merge those 2 together.
So folks, I'm as your new principal at Jamaica starting July 1, I interviewed some folks to fill the position, the K-2 position that was vacated recently. And I tell you, I'm really excited about, well, first of all, just the general state of our SU. we're getting amazing applications, and there's a lot of positions open right now because of all this ESSER money and stuff, but people are really, they're hearing about us and they're applying. We recently got an application, and I would recommend that we hire Danielle Crabtree, who's a known commodity. She's been on our academic support team. She's been trained by the best, trained by Jen McKusick. She is going to be in a PhD program for the next 4 years, and that fits nicely with the position we have in Jamaica. The reason why I'm so excited about it is because I feel it's really important to have someone there to support the children, the families, and the teachers who is trained as an administrator. And Danielle, while she won't be employed as an administrator, she is trained and licensed as one, which will help me to cover both schools and give the level of support and level of service that we've grown accustomed to in our SU. Danielle, her recommendations were incredible. And of course, we know her as somebody who is apt not only with the technology and with the data-driven instruction, but she also is a great collaborator. And that's what we really need in Jamaica right now, is someone to pull everyone together and to make us all realize that those 29 kids or so need the very best that we can give them. And I believe Danielle Crabtree is that person. Thank you.
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, Craig.
All right, so the motion I'm looking for is the ability for your chair to sign the contracts for Daniel Crabtree and Kaya Coble.
So moved, Ken McFadden.
Thanks, Ken. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Dana West.
Thanks, Dana. And do we have discussion? All right. Joe, did I miss anybody? No?
Move the question.
Was getting there, Dana. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, seeing none, motion carries unanimously again.
All right.
I'm
and
just
then the
keeping
next
you
motion-
going.
Okay, Dana, here you go, buddy. Next
Keep
motion
going.
to allow the chair of the West River School District Board to sign employment contracts for the 21-22 school year.
So move.
Second?
Ken second.
Oh, that's a tie. I'm gonna give it to Mike. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries again unanimously. We're moving now. There we go, Dana. Thanks for the kick in the pants. All right. That wraps up our new business. Moving on to old business. First order is approved minutes of May 17th, 2021.
So moved, Ken McFadden.
You got it, Ken. Second?
I'll second it, Dana West.
Thank you, Dana. Any discussion?
Move the question.
Oh, wow. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And again, we pass unanimously. And principals reports. Did everybody get a chance to review the principals reports and have any questions? How we looking, Joe?
Not a single hand.
I did raise my hand, but I just wanted to say thank you for the principal's reports. They are incredibly useful and thorough, and I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Totally agree, Emily. Yeah, very. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight one piece in ours as what a grant that we received. The North Country Brilliant Pathways grant, which is in New York, in upstate New York and Vermont. They gave 20 schools in that region received that, and Leland Grace one of them. Again, Terry Davison Berger and Sarah Grasso put together the proposal at Bill's request, and it's a non-financial reward or award. They provide services and skill development for our staff as we go through and continue to improve upon our work pathway stuff. So what you heard earlier from Christy, this is sort of the next phase of this, is that now we'll be partnering with these guys to provide more support and bringing that senior survival stuff, down into the lower grades as well, to continue to push that further down. So as Christy was talking about, so this is all kind of tied together with BDCC and this, but I just wanted to share that we were one of 20 schools in Vermont and upstate New York to receive this, and it's pretty cool. So
thanks, Bob. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all the principals, and very excited. It almost is starting to feel a little bit normal again when we have things like the prom, which was fantastic, and then a sports banquet, combined sports banquet over the weekend. So all starting to feel very much more normal. Appreciate it. And
You've got a hand, Al.
Oh, I do. Sorry.
Yep. Pam.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry I don't have the video on. You know how it is up here on this mountain. I don't want to belay. I did just want to thank everybody. Oh, it says I'm muted.
No, you're good, Pam. You're good now.
Am I good? Sorry. This is my last board meeting, and so I did just want to thank everybody on the call and beyond for the opportunity to serve the West River West River School District and the Wyndham Central Supervisory Union. I truly enjoyed my time, and now that I am a permanent Vermont resident, I look forward to watching everybody's journey. So thanks, everybody.
Pam, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you for all of your service.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Am I missing any hands, Joe?
No, sir.
All right. Bill, superintendent report. Did anybody have any questions for Bill on the superintendent? That, again, same thing. Wonderful, amazing superintendent report. No. All right, moving on to our long-term planning committee update. Mr. Hazelton.
So the update from the long-term planning committee is that the committee's been extremely active, meeting weekly, looking at a lot of different components of our current education system. We're very excited about the work that we're doing, very engaged. The superintendent's office has been extremely helpful in providing us information. We don't have anything that is kind of board ready yet, but we look forward to being able to give you guys a product in a meeting or two that will be a little bit more refined and ready for kind of more public consumption. So we've got a great group, and they're working really hard at putting together a pretty amazing proposal for the board to look at.
Thanks, Drew. Really appreciate all your hard work. And I just want to say, amazing effort. I believe you're meeting every single week. Is that correct, Bill? Every single week. So that is a commitment. So yeah, really appreciate it. All right. Did anybody have any questions?
Got no hands.
No hands? All right. Well, we have scratched F from old business, approved financials. There are none. So moving on to negotiations, I'm sorry, executive session. And I believe we do have a negotiations update, correct?
Yes, Joe and I can give you, and Dana can give you an update on co-curricular and educational support. I don't expect any motions after executive session. It will be simply informational. So I'm wondering if it might be possible for the board to discuss when your next meeting is and then go into executive session, because then you can end the meeting.
And great point. So I think the discussion is between July and August August more than likely being the preference due to everybody needing to take a deep breath and have a more extended period of time off to decompress. Does that feel right to everybody?
I never decompress. I never have time off.
So that'd be August 16th?
Yes.
Does that feel right to everybody?
Works for me.
So is there any reason at all that we would need in July's to sign or Bill?
So I just want to prepare you all that we will need to call a short meeting. I'll update you during executive session, but in the future, we'll need between tomorrow and August 16th, we're going to need about a 30-minute meeting because as these contracts come to agreement, we have to do a ratification vote. So that will happen sometime, in my guess, between tomorrow, it won't be tomorrow, and August 16th. So I just want to prepare the board to be ready for receiving an email from Al or myself saying, hey, we're going to be looking for a quorum of the board to come to this meeting. And you'll be fully informed once we talk of executive session.
Okay, got it. So we'll need a single purpose meeting between now and our next board meeting. Makes sense. All right. Very good. So I will entertain a motion to move into executive.
So moved.
All right, so Joe, you're in charge, buddy. Don't do anything until we.
Second, did I get a second on that? Sorry.
I'll second it, Al.
You, Dana?
Dana will second.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. And have a good summer. All right, Bill, thank you for the information that you provided. And Joe, we have no actions coming out of this executive session. I think that's all we need to say, correct? All right, very good. Yeah, last motion of the day. Who was it?
Motion to adjourn.
Mike, second.
I'll second it.
All right, Dana, the supreme seconder.
Move the question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, none opposed. Everybody have a great summer. See you later. Thank you.
Aye.